anniversary. We will be celebrating our 2-year anniversary in November. And this month, we're lucky enough to have 2 very timely guests with us. And that would be Lynda Roberts and Megan Stone. These are our folks that come to us from Marin County Department of Elections. Lynda is our Registrar of Voters, and Megan is our vote-by-mail and general voter outreach coordinator. One of the things that we discovered several years ago was people had questions about how to find information, where to go, who was trustworthy, who could help them with their other endeavors. In our case, it was self-represented legal patrons. This week, we're welcoming people who are quite famous for the very idea of being able to be a go-to resource. If you call their office, and particularly now as we approach a special election here in California, you can find out your voter registration status. You can ask about sample ballots. You can ask about voter information guides, or your polling place, or where the voter polling places are, or how to vote by mail. Even more remarkable, you can do this in person or by phone. These are the kind of folks that we've reached out to and always aspired to bring to the attention of our law library patrons. We hope as time goes on, you'll find occasion to review a recording like we're making tonight, suggest this to other folks. This is meant to be a resource. We're glad to be part of the information technology in Marin County. We're just a small component of that. Information is your public library, is your court, is legal aid, is any one of the agencies that we've welcomed over the last 2 years. Tonight it's my pleasure to bring you somebody who should be near and dear to your heart, because they're the people that make an election happen. Lynda, Megan, welcome.
Denise, thank you very much for that introduction. And I'm going to start by, I'll share my screen. There we go. Okay. So can everybody see the first slide, California Voters' Choice Act?
Yes, Lynda.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to talk about is an exciting change that is coming to Marin County, and that is the Voters' Choice Act. Some of you may have heard about that. I see Robin is here. Hi, Robin. And Robin definitely knows about this. So that's what I'll be talking about for a few minutes. So the Voters' Choice Act was enacted by Senate Bill 450 in 2016. And there were 5 pilot counties that adopted this act for the first primary election in 2018. And those counties included Madera, Napa, Nevada, Nevada, Sacramento, and San Mateo. And then by 2020, there were 15 additional counties, and you can see on the map all the counties now that are have implemented the Voters' Choice Act. And there are several other counties that plan to implement this act by 2022, and we are one of these counties. I know Sonoma is another county that is planning to implement Voters' Choice Act for 2022. And what Voters' Choice does is it's intended to modernize elections, and it does a couple of things. It makes elections so that they are all vote by mail, which means that every registered voter will get a ballot in the mail. But there are also in-person locations, and these are regional vote centers instead of local polling places. And there are some advantages to having these regional vote centers that I'll touch on in just a minute. So with the vote by mail, as I mentioned, all active registered voters will get a packet in the mail. Those go out 29 days before an election. And the legislation specifies criteria about drop boxes and locations of vote centers, and gives a formula for how many locations for drop boxes and locations for vote centers. And so the formula is that there is a secure ballot drop box for every 15,000 registered voters. These drop boxes are open 28 days before an election. They're located strategically throughout the county. And they are obviously, they're secure drop boxes. And we used them in 2020, and I'll touch on that in a minute. And then for vote centers, the formula for the number of vote centers is one for 50,000 voters open starting for 11 days, starting 10 days before the election. There has to be one vote center open for every 50,000 voters. And then starting 4 days before the election, one vote center for every 10,000 voters. Now, the advantage of these vote centers is that voters can go to any location. As you know, with polling places, people are assigned to a location. And if they go to a different location, then they have to vote a provisional ballot because the polling place doesn't have may not have their particular ballot type. With a vote center, voters will be able to go to any location, and I'll tell you why that is in just a minute. And so vote centers offer these basically these 5 services. People can drop off a vote by mail ballot. They can register to vote and vote, update voter registration and vote, receive a replacement vote by mail ballot, and vote using accessible voting equipment. Some of the considerations for choosing locations are in the election law, which outlines things that we have to consider, such as population centers, parking, access to public transportation, areas with low vote by mail use, language minority communities, low income communities, and voters with disabilities. So in addition to the statutory criteria, there are some other factors that we have to weigh in when we evaluate a location, and that's going to be size, the availability, whether a really good location is going to be available, if they'll make it available for all 11 days or just 4 days, whether a location is accessible. And there will need to be computer connectivity, because part of a vote center requirement is that we have the ability to look up a voter in the registration database. And so for that, we need to be able to have computer connectivity. And then we need to make sure we're finding locations that are secure. And similar with Dropbox locations, we need to also, in addition to any statutory requirements, look at whether a location will be available, accessible, and secure. So additional features that the Voters' Choice Act requires: having a language accessibility advisory committee. And so we convened a committee. We've formed a committee because the county has not had a language accessibility advisory committee. We've had a voting accessibility advisory committee for a number of years. So that committee was already in place. So we formed this new language accessibility advisory committee. And these two committees, we meet to get feedback. These are stakeholders, representatives of these different committees or communities, and we meet to get feedback from them about how perhaps we can improve services to meet needs better. So perhaps the Language Advisory Committee will suggest, well, you need to make sure you have certain kind of signage, or put signage in particular places. And same with the Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee. They give us feedback to help us serve the disability community better. So the Voters' Choice Act also requires increased public outreach and communication before each election. And that's to just give people information that they're going to need about their options for voting. Currently, we are working on this election administration plan. That's another requirement of the Voters' Choice Act is a plan about how we're going to conduct these elections. So the plan contains information about the technology, the voting equipment we'll have, and outlines information about how the vote by mail will work, and the services available at locations. And so we have drafted this election administration plan. And part of the process was to include consultation meetings with our language, minority language communities and our disability community to get their feedback in helping us create this draft plan. And so we held 4 consultation meetings. We had a meeting with the Language Accessibility Advisory Committee, the Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee, which also included, it was a joint meeting with our Elections Advisory Committee, of which Robin is a member. And so the Election Advisory Committee added a component that had our established committee of citizens that represent different areas of the county plus organizations. And so I felt that was really an added bonus to bring in that perspective as well. And then we had 2 additional consultation meetings for stakeholders just generally in the community of these 2, the language and the accessibility communities. So with all of that input and feedback, we now have a draft plan. And the next step is to have a 14-day review and comment period, to see if we need to make additional changes to the plan or add more information, and then to have a public meeting. And so I this week got the draft plan posted on our website. We are required to translate it into the languages that we need to serve in our county, which are Spanish and Vietnamese. And so it's been posted. If you go to the website, there's a link. Our main page is marinvotes.org. And there's a list on the left-hand side, under the title Elections, and the very first drop down it says New Voters' Choice Act. And so there's a way to access this draft plan. We haven't yet established the 14-day review period. And so, excuse me, as soon as we have that date set, we'll post the dates for the review period and the public meeting. We have a really growing list of community partners that will help us as we educate voters about changes with this new model. And so we'll utilize that network to help spread the word about this public meeting. So that is coming, this review of this plan. But if you're curious, you can go now and you can take a look at it. So how does this specifically impact Marin County? So in May, the Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution supporting the implementation of the Voters' Choice Act. And we have approximately 174,000 registered voters. And so currently over 87% of our voters vote by mail. So they really won't see much of a change because they're used to getting their ballot packet. They're used to the process of filling it out, putting it in the envelope and getting it back to us either by the mail or drop-off box or dropping it at a polling place. The advantage now for our vote by mail voters will be there will be more drop boxes available. And so the number of drop boxes that we will have based on our registered voters will be 12. That will be our required number located throughout the county, starting 28 days before an election. And then as far as the vote center locations go, we will need to have 4 locations open starting 10 days before the election. So a total of 11 days, which is 10 days plus election day. And then starting 4 days before the election, we need to have, or 3 days before the election, a total of 18 locations. So we will add to that initial 4 so that we have a total of 18 locations by 3 days before the election, and plus they'll all be open on election day. And the hours for the early voting will be about 8 hours a day. They have to be open 8 hours a day. And then on election day, the election day hours will still be in effect of 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you think back to November of 2020, that was, we ran that like a vote center like model. And so it really gave us an unexpected gift, if you will, of being able to do a pilot of what vote centers will be like. And so we were able to put some groundwork in place unexpectedly due to the pandemic, which at the time it was really a challenge to implement a change like that in such a short period of time. But, I'm just going to plug our team here is fantastic. We've really got a great elections team, and we were able to pull it together and make it work. The only component that we were not able to implement for November was the voters could not go to any location. We still had to assign them to a location, and that was because we did not have the ability to print their ballot type at the vote centers or at the locations we had. We had to have a paper inventory. So the completely implemented vote center model will include the ability to print a person's ballot type. So sometimes we have 13 different ballot types, depending on where people live in the county and what the local issues are that they're voting on, will depend on that will determine their ballot type. And so with this ability to print any ballot type at any location, it really opens up the options to the voter, makes it more convenient. They can go to a location that might be closer to work than home. Or maybe they're out shopping one day and, oh, hey, there's a vote center, I'm just going to go in and vote. So that will really open the convenience for voters by having the ability to print those ballots at any location. So that's the big overview of what's coming for the June 2022 primary election. You can find more information, as I mentioned earlier, on our website, and just go to the link that says Voters Choice Act, and we have several things there that you can look at. The Secretary of State's website also offers information about the Voters Choice Act. So that's what I had to offer today about where we're going, what the future is going to look like. So I can certainly take questions at this point or wait till the end. Is there a preference, Denise or Lori?
It's entirely up to you. Are there any questions in the queue right now?
I'm not looking for any. Is somebody looking for those?
Lori?
I'll have to stop sharing. Let's see. I don't see anything in chat.
At this point, Megan, would you like to do your part of the presentation?
Hi, yeah, absolutely. I'm Megan Stone. As mentioned before, I handle vote by mail and some of our general voter outreach for our department. I want to thank the Marin Law Library for having us. I'm really excited to kind of go over some general outreach information today, specifically about our youth outreach program. But I do handle vote by mail for our department too. So, feel free to ask questions along the way. And then also when I'm done, if you have questions that are related to what I'm talking about or anything elections related, the recall related or vote by mail related, feel free to ask away, and hopefully between Lynda and I, we can sort it out. So I'm just going to also share my screen. Just one moment, please.
You folks actually have some nice videos, as I recall, on your youth ambassadors. I was looking at those earlier.
Thank you. Yeah, we do actually have some cool videos that I'm hoping to share at the end, if that's all right with everyone. I
Oh, it
know a
would
couple
be
of
fabulous.
Great, great. Yeah, I'm really excited about them. I'm still really jazzed about it, even though that we worked together with the students in the committee to create them at the beginning of the year. I think they're really awesome. So thanks for bringing that up. So I'll just jump into our youth outreach program. And again, I might touch on a couple different parts of our general outreach towards the end of this, but I'm hoping to sort of plug in our program here because we're really excited right now. We're recruiting students for the program. So our youth outreach program is the Student Elections Ambassador Program. It's a collaborative effort between the Elections Department, the League of Women Voters of Marin County, and the Office of Education. The program was established in 2018 when a high school student approached the registrar actually with the concept of this ambassador program, this youth outreach program. So that student worked with us to establish this program in Marin County. It's actually still somewhat involved to this day, which is awesome. And since 2018, we've had over 85 student ambassadors actually from over, I think 18 schools throughout the Bay Area, which is incredible. It's really great to see that variety. And we're just really excited to continue going. We're recruiting, like I said, for the new school year right now. So the Student Ambassador Program is a program that's meant to attract young people who are civic minded and want to learn more about the election process and kind of share that information with their peers. And those are some of our objectives on the screen there. We want to pre-register and register students. We want to expand our student poll worker program. And we also really like a primary part of this program is just to have our student ambassadors be these ambassadors on their campus to talk about the importance of youth voter education, and then hopefully to be voters when they turn 18. And I know I always tell our ambassadors that when they're wondering, what's the importance of pre-registering to vote, the studies show that people who learn about voting early on, who pre-register before they're able to vote, are much more likely to be lifelong voters. Voting is habit forming. So this is really important to get young people in on the ground level and hopefully create these people who vote for a long time. So that's generally what the program is about. Something that I'm really excited about to see how this program progresses is that when our high school student who helped us found this program first came to us with the idea, he was in high school. And so we kind of focused primarily on high school students, but we've actually had with our partners with the League of Women Voters, an expansion of the program to college age students as well. So we're really just lucky to have all young people and have the opportunity to be involved in this program. And that's generally like the overview of the program. So next, I'll just move on to like generally the program structure. I don't have a lot of information on the screen, so I'll just kind of share generally what the program looks like. So generally around the late summer, fall, it kind of depends on what the election cycle is like that year. So if there's a November election, we'll try to condense things in to get people registered before that November election. But if it's like a local election year, there's like local elections throughout the whole year. So, but typically we recruit our students at the beginning of the new school year. We ask that they attend training to learn all about the basics of voter education, the basics of voter registration. We give them all the tools and resources they need to then pre-register and register their peers, and then also be these ambassadors on their school campus to provide voter education and be there to answer those questions, because it's so much more impactful when it comes from their peers. Part of the structure of the program is, of course, attending this training and learning all this information, but then they, of course, will organize their own outreach event, and I'll talk about that more in a second. We have the committee that organizes this program we're trying to constantly expand on this, and so this is something we're implementing this year, is we're trying to create this speaker series where we're hoping that we can have some influential people come and speak to our ambassadors and maybe really engage them. So we can really keep this momentum going throughout the school year too, because we know we have the June the June statewide election happening next year. So we want to keep everyone engaged and excited about elections throughout the year. And like I had kind of mentioned earlier, we're kind of catering this program to each year, depending on, when an election is. And generally, like I mentioned before, the focus of this is for students to get this information and then bring that to their peers. But how they do that is up to them, which I find really exciting about this program, and that in that, as you see in front of you, some students decide to do a tabling event at their school and pre-register and register students, but we leave it really up to our ambassadors to decide what the best outreach method is for them. So, based on individual characteristics and personality traits, some people might not find this to be the most effective way for their own campus, for themselves. So, we have some students who do something like this, tabling at their school. Sometimes they'll go talk to their classroom. They'll work with their teachers to go around from different classrooms to talk about voter education, and then maybe talk about voter registration as well. We've had students who've created like videos talking about voter education and voter registration. Especially in this last year with the pandemic, we've had a lot of virtual things. So like using Zoom to have like voter registration Zoom parties, and of course using like Instagram, TikTok, like social media platforms to just promote general information. And those are really key elements to this program. So I love that about this, is that, we're not forcing students to sign up to do something that they maybe aren't comfortable with, but they get to decide what works for them. And I think that's been really helpful. And then I just wanted to quickly put on the screen some of those samples that I kind of mentioned about. Like we have some of those students who actually created their own Instagram page, and it's been really fun to watch them come up with things that I hadn't even considered. And I love that about this program. It's been really, really inspiring to me to see like these young people going, using their creativity to do something so impactful in their community. So I'm gonna quickly see if I can, I would like to show some of those videos that we talked about. Can you guys still see this okay? Okay, great, thanks. So this is a program information site that the committee that organizes this program has created. It's got all of this helpful information that we're hoping is not just going to be for students, but for community partners and like stakeholders in this program. So like teachers and community members, local elected officials can come to and read about the program. And we actually have these already formed letters. So if students want to share this message with their local elected officials or teachers or community organizations, we have them ready to go so they can get the message out easier. There's information about training on here, more student samples, how to register, basically just a nice one-stop shop for everything. But I want to show you guys the videos that we created earlier this year. We got a message from a couple of our former student ambassadors from last year, who at the end of the program were just not ready to stop being ambassadors, which I find amazing. They're going to continue on into this year too, but they wanted to figure out how they could do more. And so this last year, while we have been reviewing the structure of our program and figuring out how we want to revise things for the new year, we've had these high school students who have been working with us to give that youth perspective, to provide insight that we can't provide. And then also, since some of these students have the ability and will to create some sort of, the video skills, we worked with them to create a couple of videos, and they've starred in some of them. And so I'm hoping to share them right now. So we have three styles of videos. There's we're calling our introductory video. So it's sort of just like an introduction to the program. And we have one in English and then one in Spanish. from 2 different students part of the program last year. And I'll just show the English one right now. But then we also have a video of a compilation of a lot of our former ambassadors, and they're talking about their experiences with the program. So I'll show that next, but I'll just show this one if you guys can see it okay.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Bella, and I'm here to introduce the new Student Elections Ambassador Program. This program is an expansion of the former high school election ambassador program formed in 2018, but will now include students of all ages. The program was created to encourage teens and young adults to take part in democracy, whether or not they are yet able to vote. It allows students to not only get informed on the voting and registering process, but to lead their peers in doing the same. Low youth voter turnout often comes from a lack of preparation and engagement in the electoral process. This program aims to give young people the tools they need to become ready to vote when the time comes. This program creates leaders by allowing students to inspire change throughout their student body and help build the foundation for a new generation of voters in their community. Student ambassadors will have the opportunity to collaborate and lead their own outreach projects, educating their fellow classmates about registering and pre-registering to vote and about the civic importance of voting. If you are interested in becoming an ambassador, visit marinvotes.org to learn more. We look forward to working with you as a Marin County Student Elections Ambassador.
So that's our intro video. We really like Bella. She's awesome. She actually just emailed me today, believe it or not, and she said, because I've been a little absent from this program for the last maybe 2 weeks or so because of the election, and she messaged me and said, when are we having our next group meeting? Or I'm really chomping at the bit to get going again. And we've had actually maybe 5 or 6 students who have signed up in the last 2 weeks. And so I told her, we're getting on board. We've been doing trainings this last month, really, for we have, I think, 13 or 14 ambassadors that already signed up for this new year. And we're planning on doing another training that is for the handful of students who just signed up at the end of September. And we're getting them ready for the June election. And then I'll go ahead and show the testimony video so everyone can see that as well.
Hi, if you're interested in being a student ambassador, then you've come to the right place. I'm Bella, a high school student and a youth ambassador, and I'm here to introduce you to this program and some fellow advocates for it. The Student Ambassador Program is about creating leadership skills, educating your peers, and becoming an important part of the future of your community. Now let's hear from some fellow student ambassadors about their experiences in this program.
Ever since I was a child, democracy and elections have always fascinated me. But as I entered high school, I was shocked to discover just how few young adults actually vote. In 2018, I helped launch the Marin County High School Elections Ambassador Program.
I originally got involved because my grandma was in the League of Women Voters, and I grew up seeing her go to meetings and constantly talking about the league.
I wanted to be a student election ambassador and got involved because civic engagement is super important to me. The 2020 presidential election was a big election, and I wasn't old enough to vote, but I still wanted to make an impact.
One of the reasons I joined the ambassador program was to be more civically engaged and understand the election process better, and that is exactly what I got out of it.
I was able to host a mock election for my school, which the program gave me the tools to do, and it also helped me help other students at my school become more civically engaged to help them pre-register and register to vote.
Not only did it give me insight into how to run voter drives and recruit poll workers, but it allowed me to connect with my peers and community on a deeper level.
I got to talk to a lot of younger people, high school students, about registering to vote. I remember not knowing a lot at first. Really simple to find out where to register, how to register, when to vote. I got to talk to a lot of knowledgeable people on the subject and voting rights, and I learned a lot from the experience, and I'm very grateful for the experience.
I organized a registration and pre-registration drive at my school during the period designated for homework on National Voter Registration Day to register my fellow classmates and prepare them to vote.
I educated students about how to register to vote and encourage them to vote. I also was an election poll worker, which was an exciting and rewarding experience.
They gave me all the tools and resources I needed in order to reach out and use my platform to help young voters with information and registration and all of that good stuff.
It was honestly an amazing opportunity, and I feel like It really helped a lot of other people. And I really recommend participating in this program if you're interested in government and voting and civic engagement too.
I would strongly recommend that you become a student elections ambassador. If you're looking to make a meaningful difference in your community and learning skills that will serve you as a student and beyond.
I made a difference, and this program gave me the platform to do that. And I had the most amazing experience, and I would 100% recommend this for anybody who is passionate about politics or even just making a difference in general.
It's exciting to know that I made some sort of difference in my school and in my county by getting my fellow students to participate in the voting process. And in the end, I learned a lot about elections as well.
I had a great experience and I'm happy to share it with everybody, and I love talking about it. So thank you so much.
These are great.
So those are our student ambassadors. We had a couple who were willing to jump on that video for us, and we're really grateful. They provided things that I didn't even know that they felt about the program. We're hoping that we'll get, we do get a lot of good feedback from our ambassadors, but sometimes like through video, you see like things that you don't experience via like email or anything like that. And so like I mentioned before, we are recruiting right now for our 2021 ambassadors, and if you know anyone who would like to be part of the program, again, any young adult, you don't have to be enrolled in a university or college to be involved. Anyone in high school, we would love to have you. You can sign up at marinvotes.org. And the next training will be after the recall election sometime in late September, but we want everyone to get on board. So we're happy to do trainings after that as well. We're just really looking to get the word out. So thank you. I do want to quickly note a couple other things about, touch on really things that Lynda had sort of mentioned during her presentation about our other outreach. So kind of shifting gears, I'll go definitely ask questions about the ambassador program right after this, but I just quickly wanted to note, Lynda touched on the fact that with Voters' Choice Act, voter outreach is like a large component of the VCA. And in November 2020, that is, we did have a great group of community organizations and other stakeholders who became part of this outreach network that we have formed. And we're really grateful the fact that a lot of them are willing to stay on board with us as we transition to VCA. I believe it was like 30 something organizations last year. And I think as of today, it was up to like 37 organizations. Robin, who's on the call right now, is one of them. Thank you, Robin. We just are really looking forward to working with these organizations to get the message out. Last year, we created a toolkit, and we distributed like social media content, messaging for like e-blasts. We also made like flyers and newsletters to also distribute. So we're looking to expand on that. And we really want to get the word out about the changes happening for VCA. So stay tuned for all of that coming to 2022. If you know of any organizations that would be good to be part of this network, please let us know. Feel free to reach out to Lynda or I. Our emails are just the first letter of our first name and our last name at marincounty.org. There's also a contact email on our website, like a contact you can just fill in and send us an email that way. So that's all I really had to share. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. But any questions you have about what I just talked about or anything election related, I'm all yours.
Can I make a mention of something? This is the 50th anniversary of the amendment to the Voting Rights Act that allowed 18-year-olds to vote. That was passed back in 1971.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I've been thinking about that in the last few months. I sometimes mention this to our student ambassadors that in Mill Valley, I believe, or somewhere in Marin County, I found there was this, I think there was like a local measure that in 1970, I believe, I think it was the year before that amendment happened, that put on the ballot whether or not the voting age should be moved from 21 to 18, and it actually did not pass as far as I recall. And I think it's so entertaining because I bring it up to Marin County youth because I'm like, this is your time. Like, we have the right, at 18 to vote. And when you're in high school, you have the ability to learn about this and be ready when you turn 18, because like so many of us, when we were turning 18, we didn't really have the information that we needed. And even now, I get calls from voters, and a lot of people don't understand how we vote here in California or Marin County. So we're really hoping that through this program, we can give them the information they need. They can get it out to their peers and just make a better informed community. But thank you for bringing that up. It's a great anniversary.
We have some major history going on around us, and I'm sure the League of Women Voters and you celebrated last year. It's an interesting time, and as we have all these young people coming of age with the opportunity to vote for the first time, it's not an insignificant thing. There was a pretty huge organization, Let Us Vote, that worked back in 1970, 71, and you're in the middle. Just as an observation of where we were, you've got an active draft going on. It was a very different time. You had strong motivations, and there's a real part of Bay Area history here.
I would just like to add that this program wouldn't be what it is without Megan. I can tell you that, because she has just, you can just see the enthusiasm for this program, and she has really made this something just amazing, in my opinion. And also with our partner, the League of Women Voters, I think just this collaboration has made such a big difference to the potential of this program. And it just seems that Megan is taking it each year and just adding more to it. And with the league's help with being able to have them as a resource and a support team, it's just become amazing. And it just makes me feel excited all over again about what we do, because I get focused on sort of the nuts and bolts. I want to make sure everything's going to run smoothly and we're not going to overlook anything. And so to be able to sit back and just hear Megan talk about this program it's just thrilling. So I just wanted to give her kudos for all the work she's done and thank our partner, League of Women Voters.
Well, also to you too. There's a tremendous energy in your office, and there's a genuine warmth that comes across to people. And the fact that, very shortly before a special election, you nice folks make time to visit with us and your community.
Well, we certainly appreciate the opportunity. It's nice to be engaged with the bigger community and not totally focused on just what we do in the office, but feel that connection with the work we're doing, that it does really impact real people out there. So, we get so used to dealing with paper that sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect, but we do appreciate this opportunity.
Yes,
Question, what kind of voter turnout are you expecting for this election?
That is a good question. And so typically any kind of gubernatorial election, so in 2022 or November of 2022, the turnout is maybe around 75-80%. I think the last gubernatorial in 2018, it was a little bit more than 80%. The last presidential, as you probably know, was over 90%. So we've seen that these kinds of elections aren't generally that high. So I would imagine, I wouldn't be surprised if it's right around 80%, 75-80%. Right now we have over 40% of the ballots are back. So people are definitely interested. I just checked the number today, which we're starting to post on our website, so people know how many ballots are coming back. There's over 70,000. So that's a lot for this particular time in the election cycle, this far in advance, about a week and a half before the election. It's a lot. So I anticipate a pretty good turnout.
Very good. How many folks, I'm curious, how many folks are actually volunteering this year? Do you have a rough head count?
For poll workers, you mean?
Yes.
That is a
And they-
good question too. You had a follow-up question. Go ahead.
And the student ambassadors that are working for this election, how many roughly do you have at each station?
Megan, do you have information about that? I know you're out there a little bit more closely connected with Colleen. I don't really know some of these numbers. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, as far as how many people specifically are working or volunteered to work at the polls, I do actually sit adjacent to the people who are our precinct organizers, so I can kind of hear. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but I do know that they are turning people away, or I guess putting them on sort of like a wait list. So I know that they've filled all the positions. As far as I understand, it sounds like they pretty much have everyone they need in it. I think they might be doing some organizing of filling, there's different kinds of positions at the polls as far as, different levels of people. And I think that they're maybe organizing who goes where at this point, but I think that they have sufficient amount of people, but that is not my area of expertise, unfortunately. As far as the ambassadors, it's not a requirement to be a poll worker to be an ambassador. I do have students who have inquired about it already. So I know that we have at least one who's officially got his application in and is being assigned as we speak, I guess, to work at the polls. But I don't know. I know that there are other high school students that have signed up to work at the polls that aren't necessarily ambassadors. So I couldn't tell you exactly how many students are going to work at the polls this time. I'm sorry. Maybe we can get some information and get back to you on that. But we do have some excitement about it already. And it's always fun to have high school students working at the polls because I think it kind of energizes everyone. It's a long day, so it's nice to have a young person in there.
Yeah. I can tell you that we have 100 precincts, and typically we have at least three poll workers per precinct. I think they like to have 4 so that people can take breaks and not leave the precinct shorthanded. So I would imagine we've roughly recruited 350 to 400 people, which in this shortened time frame is a lot of speaks highly of our team that could get people out there to volunteer, and plus the people who are stepping up. So same with the polling places. We'll have 70 polling places, and none of this is easy in such a shortened time frame. So we just have a real fabulous team that just is so dedicated to getting the work done that it makes sort of an insurmountable hurdle appear not to be quite so hard to jump over.
That is such a healthy population when you think of the numbers and the way that the work is divided up. It is a real compliment, and it's one of the things that I think we're very fortunate, to have such an election office that we do, that has, the capacity to draw these kind of volunteers and committed people and to put on an election.
Do you mind if I just add a quick note to the energy of our department? I do want to add that we do have great leadership. I just want to plug it in that the energy comes from Lynda, our registrar, and our assistant registrar. You guys set the pace about how we work together, and it's a great place to work. And I just wanted to formally note that Lynda's doing a great job.
Thank you for that, Megan.
It's nice to hear the enthusiasm and warmth you have for the work you do. Are there any other questions right now from the audience? Lori? It sounds like there may not be. Any thoughts? If you wanted to give us any recommendations, should we get up and be out there early at the polls? What will it look like? What's the best time to get there?
Well, that is a good question. I guess polling places tend to have times that are busier than others. That's been my experience. So it seems like people try to get there before they go to work, or they go on their lunch hour, they go right after work. So probably I would suggest maybe what might be an off time, 9:30 or 10. And I'm really only guessing because I haven't been out on the ground on election day to really see firsthand, but it just seems to be that's people pick certain times of the day to go to the polling place. So hopefully there won't be lines. We will have an inventory of ballots so people can get their paper ballot right away if they need it. I would say if you're not going to use your vote by mail ballot, it will make things go quicker if you take that ballot to a polling place and surrender it to the poll worker so they can give you a polling place ballot. If you don't have that, if you don't have that ballot to surrender, then you have to vote a provisional ballot, and there's an envelope you have to fill out. So it just takes a little bit more time on the voter's side. It's going to take more time to fill out that envelope than actually vote that ballot that has, 2 parts to it. So that would be my biggest recommendation, is make sure you have your vote by mail ballot to surrender.
That is such a good reminder.
Yeah. I have a question. I'm wondering, are you getting many questions about, filling out the gubernatorial recall election ballot in terms of that? Is it clear? Do people understand it? I
think,
there's 2 parts.
Right. I think Megan sometimes will field emails and phone calls. So perhaps you can talk about that, Megan.
Yeah, I would say lesser so now that we're a little bit deeper into the election. But at the beginning, there were some questions. I think maybe more so before there was a lot of like media coverage of this. I mean, we do still get those calls of people curious about how to vote the ballot. And there are some like specific questions about I guess specific recall related questions. And we did include a new information sheet that is included with the vote by mail ballot this year that did indicate that we have an FAQ page on our website if voters have questions about how to vote their ballot. And we
I think you got muted, Megan.
Oh, can you still hear me okay?
Now we can, yeah.
Oh, well, anyway, there's information on our, oh, I see. I'm having a hard time with the internet. Sorry, guys. Can you still hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure I broke off, but I just mentioned that there's that blurb about the FAQ page that was included with the ballot, and it was included in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. I know the Secretary of State's office also is putting out information as well. So I would say voters have been have asked questions about it, but it doesn't seem to be like a huge issue, a widespread issue.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't see any, Denise.
I'd like to thank both Lynda and Megan tonight and wish you the best and most productive of weeks ahead with this, and let you know that we'd love to have you back again, especially if there's any changes as we move ahead with elections, and if we can be of assistance at all with your student ambassador program. It's very intriguing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, and thank you all for coming tonight. We'll see you again next month.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.